Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out Do I Want to Know and how Arctic Monkeys broke America.
No British canon.
Every British band since the Beatles has seen going mainstream in America as a measure of supreme success.
USA.
But rarely does that happen. It's a big place, and just because something appeals to UK taste doesn't mean it'll definitely cross over. Some of the greatest British acts of all time haven't made a dent in the US.
Yeah.
Cliff Richard,
so
the
weird.
Kinks, the Jam, the Stone Roses, Blur, and the Libertines. All household names in Britain, but barely known in the US.
Yeah, it's so
For
weird.
Arctic Monkeys, this is I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor. Don't believe the hype.
Arctic Monkeys were a band that seemed destined for this lack of US appreciation. A Sheffield guitar band beloved in the UK, whose singers' insightful lyricism followed a British songwriting tradition, passed down from the Kinks' Ray Davies through Paul Weller, Morrissey, and Pulp's Jarvis Cocker. This quintessential British view on nights out, relationships, and not very good local bands ran through their 2006 debut. But references to Rotherham, the phrase Mardy Bum, and frontman Alex Turner's thick Yorkshire accent were not going to translate internationally. But then 7 years later, they beefed up their sound, slowed down, and made the US Billboard Top 10 with Do I Wanna Know. This is New British Canon, and here's the story of how the Arctic Monkeys broke America.
When I first heard the Arctic Monkeys, I thought they were from New York for some reason. For years I thought they were from New York, and I think I learned they were British within the past year watching these British music videos. I'm not familiar with the song Do I Want to Know. Surely I've heard it. I don't know it. The first album came out in 2006. 18 years ago? You know, there's a weird phenomena. I remember the first time I heard Arctic Monkeys, and I remember, like, avoiding them, kind of. Because at that time, when they got popular, I was an audio engineer. I mean, I still am, but I was more active in it back then, working in recording studios and all that. And I think what I heard of them was so close to what I wanted to produce and put out there that it made me avoid them. Like I was envious of the little bit that I heard of them. I was envious of their sound. So I was like, oh, no. I don't. Is it weird how we do that? Like I didn't want the competition or something. I think I subconsciously avoided them. Anyway, I think 18 years is enough distance that I can accept it. Let's hear them.
And here's the story of how the Arctic Monkeys broke America.
Origins 2004 to 2012, whatever people say I am, to You, Oh, Are You Mine? Song I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor. Okay.
Arctic Monkeys formed in
sounds like New
Sheffield
York
in
to
the
me.
early 2000s, composed of guitarist-vocalist Alex Turner, guitarist Jamie Cook, drummer Matt Helders, and bassist Andy Nicholson. Previous to starting the band, none of their members had played an instrument before, but called to
Wow.
action by the retro rock and roll of the Strokes and their
That's why I
landmark
thought they were
Is
from
This
New
It album, they started a band. Their initial sound was an energetic British spin on that. With Turner
Yeah, see, that sounds good. It does sound like the Strokes. Wait a minute. Where's Sheffield? Show me on a map. Sheffield, UK. There she is. Smack dab in the middle. Oh, near Manchester, y'all. Manchester. Okay, it makes sense.
with Turner's
dig it.
intricate and rapidly delivered
Hang on.
lyrics.
That was a demo? That sounds good. I want to hear it again. For not playing their instruments before this, that sounds really good. How'd they do it?
With Turner's intricate and rapidly delivered lyrics, inspired by the flows of the Wu-Tang Clan and punk poet John Cooper Clarke.
Wow.
Bloody train is bloody late, you're bloody way, you're bloody way, bloody lost and bloody found, stuck in fucking chicken town.
Through MySpace, their demos gained them a sizable following, and they signed to London-based indie label
MySpace.
Dominant. This early hype got their first single, 2005's I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor, straight to #1 in the UK charts.
Well, I bet
Then, in January 2006, their debut album, Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not, overtook Oasis and Elastica to become the fastest selling debut album in the UK. The week it was released, Enemy writers voted it the 5th best British album of all time, beating London Calling and Revolver.
What?
Despite being a very big deal in the UK, their appeal in the US was limited. This was not helped by the band not wanting to do press, award shows, and the usual promotional ephemera.
Come on, be excited. It's supposed to be like the next big thing.
Well, it's supposed to be, but probably aren't.
In an interview with Rolling Stone in
I
2013,
like their
Cook
attitude.
and Helders defended their unwillingness to play the game. But we were teenagers then. Maybe we would have won a Grammy by now if we hadn't been so stubborn. But no regret. Rather than spend
Good.
time touring America to build their profile, they instead dove straight into album number 2, Favourite Worst Nightmare. Around this time, Nicholson left the band to be replaced by Nick O'Malley.
Why'd you leave the band? I want to play bass. I'll play bass for you.
Again, it was a British #1 album, but with even less attention in the US. For their third album,
Hang on. Hang on. That was great. It looked like they were playing Top of the Pops with clown makeup on. Y'all, I just want to hear. I want to pause this and check out their albums on the old iTunes. Whatever you say I am, I'm not. I bet you look good on the dance floor. Okay. Sounds great. I like it. I like it. Favorite Worst Nightmare. Y'all, it's like the Strokes style, but sonically it sounds better, and it's a little heavier. Y'all, am I an Arctic Monkeys fan now? Let's hear their next album. Crying Lightning. Mono room sound, mono drums like that. Ooh! Y'all, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I see why at the time I avoided it, because it's like right up my alley. I love it. I love this. I love these guys.
and to be replaced by Nick O'Malley's Worst Nightmare.
bass
Around
player
this
quit.
time, Nicholson left the band to be replaced by Nick O'Malley. Again, it was a British #1 album, but with even less attention in the US. For their third album, Humbug, they moved out to Rancho de la Luna in Joshua Tree, California, and with the help from co-producer Queens of the Stone Age's Josh Homme, the band were able to really lean into a slower, sludgier version of their sound. This
Okay.
can be heard on the album's lead single, Crying Lightning.
That's what I just listened to. Bass tone. It's crazy.
About Homme, Turner stated, "He's got a charm. He can persuade you to do things. We'd never done slow, heavy rock songs. It was a different world to us. I don't know if we'd have gone there if it hadn't been for Josh. He used to tell us, it's harder to play slow." After
That's
their
true.
Pixies-indebted fourth album, 2011's Suck It and See, during spring 2012, Arctic Monkeys supported the Black Keys on their El Camino tour. But beforehand, they recorded something new so they'd have some fresh material. Namely, the standalone single, Are You Mine?
I've
based on
heard
a
that.
riff that
Okay, yeah. That sounds familiar to me. And I'm remembering 2012, Kings of Leon. Yes, the Black Keys. I remember this song. I don't really care for this one. And I think that's what turned me off to them, now that I'm remembering.
Based on a riff that O'Malley had written, the track went harder than anything they'd previously recorded. While its lyricism and flow was influenced by modern hip-hop. Lil Wayne and Drake, we've been listening to a lot of their stuff recently. I like that thing they do where they talk about something backwards. So they talk about it, and then they say what it actually is in the next line. So I say,
I'm a puppet on a string,
just before mentioning.
Tracy Island.
But it turned out Are You Mine was just a warm-up for what would feature on their next album.
Making a lot of albums. Do I Want to Know, 2013, Aaliyah, Dr. Dre, and Ziggy Stardust, and the Spiders from Mars. This is the song, Do I Want to Know? Have I heard it?
As the Black Keys tour was their first they'd ever done where they weren't the headliner, the band quickly learned they needed to up their game in a live setting. Just playing their songs with teenaged energy wasn't gonna win over a disinterested US crowd. Due to this, Turner's stage persona evolved, moving further from the shy Sheffield lad of 2006 with his guitar up to his chest, and into a definite rock star with swagger, a killer teddy boy hairdo, and actual slick attire. Also, by this time, 3 of the Arctic Monkeys were living in LA, riding motorcycles and dating models, but they needed more songs that reflected this change, that strutted rather than ramshackled. Bassist O'Malley bluntly recalled the band wanted to avoid the same old indie bullshit. Written early in their...
That was in 2014. They've been doing it for 10 years by that time. They need a change. Wow, okay, yeah.
Band wanted to avoid the same old indie bullshit. Written early in their new album sessions back at Rancho de la Luna with co-producer Ross Orton, Do I Wanna Know was the first moment that achieved this.
Have you got color in your cheeks?
I guess we turned a corner with
do
Do
know
I
that
Wanna
song.
Know. We had this idea for a record where you take the compositional perspective of an R&B producer and apply that to a 4-piece rock and roll band, manipulating our instruments to make building blocks for the songs in a way I would imagine Timbaland constructs music. This building block approach of recording Do I Wanna Know began with the recording of the backbeat, a mixture of drums, hand claps and foot stomps, before fleshing out the rest of the song. The influence from Timbaland is also present on the backing vocals, i.e. O'Malley and Helders, or as Turner referred to them in the AM Press tour, the Space Choir Boys. On the track, rather than shouty call and response backups present on older tracks,
Shoulders are frozen. Oh, but you're an explosion.
their vocals are R&B velvet smooth, adopting an almost falsetto while dipping in and out of the mix for emphasis, similar to the vocals in Timbaland's work with Aaliyah. People like Aaliyah, there's real craft on those singles.
Yeah.
We like the scales and the melodies on some of those records, the way the backing vocals might come right to the front and disappear again.
If this feeling flows both ways.
But the Space Choir Boys were almost not present on the recorded version of the song. LA band Haim were originally asked if they would sing on the track, but due to them being deep in the process of concocting their own brand of hard rock flecked R&B on their debut, Days Are Gone, they had to decline. Said SD Haim, "We didn't have enough time to come in and learn the harmonies. It would have taken a couple of days. That would have been our biggest dream come true, to sing on an Arctic Monkeys record. It was one of the most painful calls to say no. Maybe the worst day of my life." Along with Timbaland, the band have also stated the importance of the beats and bass on Dr. Dre's 2001 album.
Yes.
Still doing that shit, oh, for sure. Yeah.
I love that album.
As well as the rock elements of Ziggy era David Bowie.
Don't fake it, baby.
The central riff on Do I Wanna Know was written and recorded by Turner on a 12-string Vox Starstream, which gives the lumbering, almost Sabbath-like riff a fuller, meatier sound. Said longtime Arctic Monkeys producer James Ford, "I think he actually bought it as a bit of a joke, but I think it actually turned into a bit of an inspirational instrument. A lot of the riffs on AM were written on that particular guitar."
So have you got...
Wow. So I realize I have heard Do I Wanna Know, and I don't really like it, I'm sorry to say. But I definitely admire the way they got to it, incorporating more R&B. And yet, you know, it's so weird. The definition of a producer. In the rock genre, the producer helps the band find their filter and helps the band give a good performance. But in hip-hop, the producer is like the beat maker. They're basically creating the whole music track, and then the artist does the vocals on it. It's a very different concept, a different way of coming up with the recording. But the way they're doing it, it is like hip hop. They're laying down the beat first and then coming up with the stuff around it afterwards. Very hip hop.
So have you got the good?
Okay. Lyrical Content 2013 Women, Drake, and Yorkshireness song Do I Want to Know?
Despite a sonic shift for the band, at its core, lyrically, there was limited evolution. Since the beginning, Turner's mind has rarely strayed from writing about the women he loves, lusts, and longs after. When questioned about this by Esquire, he stated, "I write about women, yes. I haven't found a way around it yet. There are other things I eventually might get round to writing about.
Oh, funny.
In a sense, they're about girls, but in a sense, they're about loneliness and longing." Do I Want to Know continues this trend, its title questioning whether to continue pining over an ex-partner and the emotional uncertainty involved, mirroring the similarly unsure Are You Mine? Pitchfork writer Larry Fitzmaurice compared the song to Drake's Marvin's Room, another track where the protagonist is longing after an ex-partner, and so he, intoxicated, calls her to try and get answers.
I'm just saying you could do better.
Turner retorted, because his tune's about getting drunk and calling his old bird. I'm sure Drake and I aren't the only people to have done that though. Those reflections, especially when shit-faced, about what could have been, and the grey area between longing and lusting after a memory, are fertile ground for pop music.
Oh my god, so
as
many
it is
songs.
such a universal experience.
Yeah.
One thing that especially UK fans feared, now that Turner was a resident of LA instead of his native Sheffield, is that his iconic accent would escape him, while nowhere near the syllable-chewing delight of tracks like From the Ritz to the Rubble.
He's got his hand in your chest, he wants to give you a tug. Well, secretly, I think he wants you all to kick up.
Do I Want to Know still momentarily throws back to where he came from in the song's first verse,
The type that sticks around like so much in your teeth.
proving that you can take the man out of Yorkshire, but you can't take Yorkshire out of the man. Most covers of the track change it to the less regional something.
The type that sticks around like something in your teeth.
The tie that sticks around like something in your teeth.
Aside from Dua Lipa, who commits to the dialect word.
The type that sticks around like summits in your teeth.
Oh.
That rock and roll, eh?
Wow. Legacy 2013 charts, Brits, and Saving Rock and Roll audio. Alex Turner's Brits Best British Album Speech.
Do I Want to Know secured its place in the British rock pantheon when Arctic Monkeys headlined Friday night at Glastonbury 2013. At this point, the song had barely been released a fortnight, but in an act of sheer arrogance, the band opened with it.
Yes.
A field of onlookers chanted the riff back in unison,
They already knew
a
it.
ritual that would continue for each future live appearance. Beyond
Y'all, that's how a song becomes a football anthem. I bet they play this at football games, don't they?
Beyond being an now eternal football chant, the riff was placed at number 3 of Guitar World's best guitar riffs of the decade. Now here's a lesson in how space can make a riff pop, and heck, give it a sense of the profound. Do I Want to Know also became the Arctic Monkeys' biggest hit in the UK since 2007's Fluorescent Adolescent, peaking out at number 11 in the singles chart.
Pretty
But
good.
as a bigger achievement, the single reached the top of the US Billboard Alternative charts and remained on the chart for 48 weeks.
That's
Their
almost a
previous
year.
entry on the Alternative charts, I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor, had only managed to reach number 7 in 2006. And while their greater focus on publicity didn't win them a Grammy, in 2015, Do I Want to Know was at least nominated for Best Rock Performance. The song's parent album, AM, arrived in September 2013. With its release, Arctic Monkeys became the first ever independently released group to score 5 consecutive UK #1 albums.
Wow.
In the US, it became their proper breakthrough, reaching the top 10 of the Billboard chart. Finally, the Arctic Monkeys had broken America, but they did much more than that. With Do I Want to Know, they signaled that rock music wasn't dead. The crowning ceremony in British popular music, the Brit Awards, greeted them with praise. Similar to every other year that the Arctic Monkeys had released music, they had had a fractious relationship with the award show, having not attended and got We Are Scientists' Keith Murray to say a few words when they won Best Breakthrough Act in 2006. Then varyingly accepted the accolades dressed as the Village People, the cast of The Wizard of Oz,
Awesome.
and some Yorkshire farmers.
Hilarious.
2014 was no different. When collecting the prize for Best British Album for AM, Turner delivered the following speech, edited for length and clarity.
That rock and roll, it just won't go away. Might hibernate from time to time and sink back into the swamp. But it's always waiting there just around the corner.
That's right.
Ready to make its way back through the sludge.
That's right.
And smash through the glass ceiling, looking better than ever. Yeah, that rock and roll, it seems like it's fading away sometimes. It will never die. And there's nothing you can do about it.
In 2014, Arctic
I love that. Oh, that's great. Y'all, he's not a shy Sheffield boy anymore. He's a cocky LA rock guy. I gotta say, the Teddy Boy thing, I don't really identify with it. With the slicked hair and stuff. I identify with their original style. But, you know, gotta give the crowd a show.
In 2014, Arctic Monkeys seemed like the last rock band standing. For Best British Band, which they also won, they were up against the electronic-focused likes of Bastille and Disclosure, as well as One Direction. Not a single loud, distorted guitar between them. As arrogant and or drunk as he may have seemed, Alex Turner was pointing out something that became more obvious as the decade wore on. Though rock music isn't as prevalent as it once was, Arctic Monkeys' Do I Wanna Know is proof that guitar-based music can exist and be loved in a modern musical climate. It just needs to try something new, challenge itself, and know what makes rock exciting. It's not that hard. Turner chose to write their follow-up, Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, solely on a piano, leaving rock behind. But the next wave is just around the corner, ready to make its way through the sludge, looking better than ever. And there's nothing you can do about it. Thanks for watching. What are some of your favourite rock songs of the last decade? Comment down below. While this video was about one of the best British songs of the decade, what was the best British song last year? In the next video, you'll find out. I'd like to shout out last month's top tier patrons: Andy Carlson, DF, Emily Violet Richardson, and She Melrose. Thank you, it really does help, and I'll see you next time.
Y'all be sure to go to Trash Theory and like and subscribe. I'm curious to hear Arctic Monkeys' most recent album. Suck It and See? Or is this... Oh, this is the keyboard one. Oh! Wow. Very R&B. I mean, you don't have to have guitars for it to be rock and roll. That's very R&B. There's also a retro vibe to it, the effects on his vocals and the tone of the drums and the piano and everything. Interesting. I respect them for that. What's their latest album? 2022, The Car. What's up with that? Wow. I gotta check out their earlier albums. I totally missed out on it, but I really like the early stuff. The rock stuff. Well, y'all, if you made it this far in the video, be sure to give me a like and subscribe. I'd like to thank my patrons. I'd like to thank my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see you next time.